Hi and welcome to the Crochet Circle. My name is Alex and in today's video I want to show you how to crochet a letter G. Now, as you know from before, I'm just gonna sketch it out first. So I'm gonna begin with the base of chain of 12 stitches. Then I'm gonna do some increases on the left and on the right side, and then do the back side of the letter G. Now this will be part 1. Part 2 will be the chains of the on the top part and then reducing to finish up the top. Now this will be part 2. Part 3 will be the bottom tooth and part 4 will be the top tooth. So don't forget, if you want to see the whole pattern for the letter G, it's listed on my webpage and the link to the webpage is in the description below. Now I'm just gonna get started. I'm gonna leave this piece of paper here in the corner just for you to see how it's actually done. I still have some orange scrap yarn that I'm gonna be using to do the letter, and I'm gonna begin with chain of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now this is the base. I'm gonna do a chain 1 just to go up into the next row, and I'm gonna go in to the second stitch from the hook, and I'm gonna do an increase stitch. An increase means just 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Now I'm gonna do single crochets till the last stitch, and the last stitch will be an increase again, and after row number 1 I'm gonna have 14 stitches. And I have to repeat the increase in the beginning and the end 7 times. So until row number 7 I have to do increase in the beginning and increase at the end. I'm here at the last stitch, so that just means I need to do an increase. So it's gonna be 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Now I have 14 stitches. Again, I'm up to row number 2 now. 7 rows of increasing on the left and on the right. Now to go into the next row, I've done chain 1 just to go up, and now an increase, and now single crochets, and the last stitch again will be an increase. Now this is the last stitch, and this is gonna be an increase. So that means 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Row number 2 is done. Now I'm up on row number 3, again an increase in the beginning, single crochets till the end, and the last stitch will be again an increase. Again the first stitch an increase, just like the last stitch of the previous row was an increase, and the last stitch of this row will also be an increase. Now the last stitch is an increase. Chain 1 into the next row and an increase, single crochets, and the last stitch will again be an increase. Now the last stitch is an increase. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. I need 2 more rows like this. So an increase in the beginning, single crochets, and an increase at the end. Now the last stitch is an increase, and I have a knot where they joined 2 strands of yarn. I'm gonna make just another knot here because this one is not as good. Well, sometimes when you get a ball of yarn or a skein of yarn, you just get knots in between, because even yarn is not unlimited, you know. So the first stitch is an increase. I'm gonna do single crochets till the last stitch, and then again an increase. I'm just working this tail in a bit. But as I said, it happens sometimes in a yarn that you do have a knot in between, because if you're unlucky and you get that piece of yarn or wool that was cut together, then you just have to work in the knot. Now the last stitch is an increase, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. So now I'm gonna go here with this curvy part. How I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna do 8 single crochets and a decrease. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and a decrease, 4 a decrease, from the first stitch I'm gonna take just the front loop, and then I'm gonna go in through both loops. So with the working yarn I have 3 more loops on my needle, then I just go in and crochet it all together. Now the next row calls for a decrease, 6 single crochets, and an increase, and the next row is 7 single crochets and a decrease. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and a decrease. I'm at row number 10 now. Now I need to do 10 rows of just 8 single crochets. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Now you can use a row counter. You can write down the number of rows that you've done, or you can perhaps print out the pattern and just line it out with a piece of with a pen or something like that. But for me at the moment I don't need to do anything like that, because I'm just gonna count the rows when I kind of feel it's gonna be enough. Otherwise, even if I wouldn't be talking for the tutorial, I still wouldn't count the rows. Perhaps I would have my piece of paper next to me and just put down some lines to kind of remember where I am, but usually I do rely on my counting because it's really easy to count the rows at the moment. So let's just double check it. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15. So I need 5 more rows of 8 single crochets. That's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. I need 4 more rows. Now 3 more rows. Two more rows. Actually, I think this will be my last row. I think I mixed it up again. So let's just double check. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19. And 20. Now, because I've done in the bottom this small curve here, I need to do this on top as well. So I'm gonna go chain 1 into the next row, and I'm gonna do an increase and then 7 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7. Now in the next row, the first stitch is a decrease, 6 single crochets and an increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and an increase. Now this is the last row of part 1. The first stitch is an increase and then 8 more single crochets. I'm gonna do a chain 1 and I can now cut the yarn. And part number 1 is done. Now I'm gonna go to part number 2. I'm gonna start in the first stitch of this 23rd row. So I'm gonna go in to the stitch, I'm gonna do a slip stitch, and now I'm just gonna begin with 16 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now, because here on top it's time for decreases from the left and on the right side, I'm just gonna do in each row, just like I did increases at the bottom, I'm gonna do decreases at the top. So I'm gonna do chain 1 to go up into the next row, and in the second stitch from the hook I'm gonna do a decrease. Now I'm gonna do 14 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and now I have here 10 more single crochets on the part of part 1. What I'm gonna do with the starting tail of part 2, I'm gonna kind of put it over my work and then just work it in. So I need to do 10 more single crochets here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, I'm gonna do 8 more, and the last stitch will be a decrease, because the first and the last stitch is a decrease. Chain 1, turn the work around, a first stitch is a decrease, single crochets till the beginning, actually till the end, and then do a decrease stitch again. And I need 7 rows like this, and I'm on row number 7 for it. Row number 2 out of 7 for it. I have 2 more stitches left on this side, so I'm gonna do a decrease. Now the first stitch is a decrease, and then single crochets till the beginning. Actually, I've done it again, single crochets till the end, where the last stitch is again gonna be a decrease stitch. Now I have 2 more stitches left. I'm gonna do a decrease. Chain 1 to go up into the next row, a decrease, a first stitch, and a decrease will be the last stitch, and all in the middle it's gonna be just single crochets. Now I have 2 more stitches left. That just means a decrease, now the first stitch is a decrease, single crochets till the end, and the last stitch is a decrease. One more and a decrease into the last 2 stitches. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 2 more rows like this. So the first stitch is a decrease, and the last stitch is a decrease, and in between I'm just doing single crochets. And this is now the last row, row number 30 or row number 7 of part 2, where I just have to go till the end, where the last stitch is gonna be a decrease, and 2 parts of the letter G will be done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, chain 1, cut the yarn, so this much of a letter G is done. Now I just need the bottom and the top. I'm gonna start the next part here on the bottom. In the first stitch of the row, I'm gonna go in with my crochet hook. I'm gonna do a slip stitch, I'm gonna do a chain 1, and then I'm gonna do 7 single crochets. As you can see, again, the starting tail, I'm working it into my work because that means I won't have to worry about it later to sew it in. So I have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a decrease stitch. So I'm gonna go in through the front loop, through the both loops, and then just crochet it together. Chain 1, go into the next round, and this one is just 8 single crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And the next one is again just 8 single crochets. Now I need to do this little ledge here, so I'm just gonna go in and do 3 more chains. I'm gonna do 1 more chain just to go up into the next row, and single crochets. Altogether it's gonna be 11 single crochets, and I need to do 3 rows of 11 single crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And now the last row of part 3, just 11 more single crochets. Chain 1, and I can cut the yarn. Now all I need is few rows here on top. Now you can begin either from this side or from this side, and I'm gonna actually begin from on this occasion I'm gonna begin from the end, but you can go in the 10th stitch on the left side as well. But it doesn't matter, to be honest, because you don't have to count rows, because you don't have to do any reduces or decreases or something like that. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna do a slip stitch, a chain 1, and now I'm gonna do 8 single crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the last stitch is actually a decrease. Now the next row is a decrease at the beginning, 6 single crochets, and an increase at the end. chain 1, and now the last row of part 4 is 7 single crochets and a decrease. So that means 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and a decrease. And this is the first letter G done. Now I need to make another one, because once I'm gonna have two letters G, I'm gonna crochet them together, so they're gonna be more puffy and much easier to hang on to. So I'm gonna begin the same way with the base of chains of 12. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. Chain 1 to go up into the next row, and 7 rows of increases in the beginning and then increases at the end, and in the between I'm just gonna do single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more row of increases at the beginning, at the end. Now I'm on the part where there are the curves. So I have all the 10 rows of 8 single crochets done. Now it's gonna be an increase and 7 single crochets. Because of the curve, I have to have the same on top as on the bottom. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. And an increase. And now the last row is an increase in the beginning and 8 single crochets. Chain 1, cut the yarn, now I have to do the chain 16 part of the beginning of part 2. Now 16, chain 1, and in the second one I'm gonna begin with a decrease. And now single crochets till the end, and the last stitch will be a decrease again, and I need 7 rows like that. And now just the bottom and the top parts. I'm just gonna start in the top, so I'm gonna do 8 single crochets and a decrease. So I go in with a slip stitch, chain 1 and a single crochet, and do 8 single crochets. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a decrease. Now the next row is a decrease, 6 single crochets and an increase. And the next row is 7 single crochets and a decrease. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a decrease. Chain 1, I can cut the yarn. Now on the bottom part I have to start at the end. So I actually go into the first stitch in and do a slip stitch, chain 1, and now I have to do 7 single crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a decrease. Now I have 2 rows of 8 single crochets. Now it's the ledge part, so chains of 3, chain 1 to go into the next round, and now I have 11 single crochets for 3 rows. As you can see, I'm always getting tired a bit at the end of each letter. its part, the last part done as well. And now that I have the two G's, GG, I can crochet them together. Again, I'm not gonna be sewing in all the loose ends. I'm gonna just put them on the right side. So for example, this one has to go to the back because this is gonna be the top G, and this one has to have all the loose ends on top part. You can definitely sew in all the loose ends if you want, but in few videos before I already showed you that how to do that, and I already showed you also how not to bother with sewing the loose ends in. You just have to pay a bit more attention while you crochet together the two letters. And that's it. So I have my bottom G, I have my top G, and I'm gonna start in the top left corner. I think usually like the third stitch is the best to start with. So this is my yarn. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna do a slip stitch, I'm gonna do a chain one, and I'm gonna do a single crochet. Now I'm gonna go just with single crochets all the way around the letter, the two letters G. Now here I'm in the corner stitch. I'm gonna do a single crochet, a chain one, and another single crochet in the same stitch. That just means I'm kind of turning the corner, and now I'm back just on single crochets. And this will be done all the way around. What I do wanna keep in mind is I have to put both letters nicely together, so it goes a row over a row, and it should be much easier to crochet them together. And that's just it, just doing single crochet in each row in. I do align it, kind of stretch it just a bit, because then it's much easier to crochet them together with a single crochet stitch, because you can kind of see how the rows are, and you can see like small holes where your crochet hook can go in through both of the letters. And again, because I didn't put the loose ends in, I just have to kind of hide them in while I crochet them together. Now this is my corner stitch. I'm gonna do a chain one and just another single crochet in the same stitch. just to turn the corner, and now single crochets again till the next corner I come around with. The outer corners I do a single crochet, chain one, and a single crochet. Sometimes I skip the single crochet, I just do I skip the chains and I just do 2 single crochets. And for the inner corners I do a slip stitch in the inner corner, just so it looks much nicer and tidier. So I'm gonna do a chain one and then another single crochet in the same stitch, and now I'm gonna be crocheting, single crocheting again. I'm gonna do actually 2 single crochets here because it is more of a turn. If you think you need somewhere in between another single crochet, just do a single crochet. It's nothing wrong as long as it looks good. Now I'm gonna be here in my corner stitch. Single crochet, chain one, and another single crochet in the same stitch, because I want the corner to be turned nicely around. And now I just do single crochets till the end. Now this is again my corner stitch, single crochet, chain one, and another single crochet in the same stitch. And another corner, chain one, and another single crochet in the same stitch because I'm turning the corner. Now here is an inner corner, as you can see, and in here I'm just gonna do a slip stitch. And now I'm gonna continue with single crochets. And another slip stitch and single crochets. So whenever you see an inner corner, try reducing the stitches. Whenever you see an outer corner, try adding a stitch. Now again here I'm gonna put a slip stitch in, and now I'm gonna continue with single crochets up. But first I wanna fill in this bottom part here. A bit more stuffing. I do want to push it into all the corners, and that's it. And now I can continue with closing up the letter G. All the loose ends have to be inside. Now, before I'm gonna turn the corner, again, I'm just gonna stuff the bottom part up. Oops. Now these are all the loose ends, and they can go in as well. And now I'm going to continue with closing up the letter G. Now this is a corner, an inner corner. I'm gonna do a slip stitch, and now continue with single crochets. I'm gonna do one more single crochet, then in the corner I'm gonna do a slip stitch, and again single crochets. Now I'm in the corner stitch. I'm gonna do single crochet, chain one, and a single crochet, and now single crochets till the next corner. Now again corner, single crochet, chain one, and a single crochet in the same stitch. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stuff this part up. Now just single crochets till the corner. Oops, I missed a stitch there, so let's go one back, because I want both sides need to be crocheted together. Now this is the corner stitch, chain 1 and another single crochet in the same stitch. Just a little bit more and I'm almost done. That was my last stitch. Now for the invisible join, I'm not gonna do a chain 1, I just pull the yarn through, get my needle, and I'm not gonna go into the first stitch, I'm gonna go into the second stitch because I'm overlaying the first stitch. And that's it. Now I just need to find a spot where I'm gonna tie the end and the beginning together. Now all I have to do is hide the knot into the work. And I made a complete mess here. No, it's fine. Cut the yarn, kind of munch it together to perhaps get a better shape out of it, but this is letter G done.